When those two align, you're going to tap into people who are going to want to follow you, not feel like
Mhm.
they have to follow you. And they will be high performers
Right.
and they will be high producers. They just will, because that's what people are looking for in their leaders.
So I'm going to bring on our first guest, Reverend Kevin Wayne Johnson. And I got to make sure I say all three names. Kevin Wayne Johnson. Welcome to the Horizons Author Lounge. How are you tonight?
Thank you. Thank you. Good to see you, Rhonda, and glad you had a really, really good event up at the Indiana Black Expo. That's always good to hear. I've done that event a couple of
Yeah.
times few years ago, but I'm glad to hear that they're still going strong.
It's interesting because this year, and I did not know until I was walking through the airport when I landed in Indiana, that Indianapolis was also hosting the WNBA All-Star Weekend.
Oh yeah,
So there were there were tall women everywhere,
I
but it
bet.
was really cool. Indianapolis gave them a great show. There was a huge basketball court set up in the middle of the airport. And then there was another basketball court set up downtown. They did fireworks every night, and they had a meet and greet going on right next door to the Black Expo. So I think we may have gotten a few of the people who came for the basketball events. So that was always good.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So tell before we get started with you, tell us, who is Kevin Wayne Johnson?
Well, I reside from Richmond, Virginia, going all the way back to great grandparents on both the maternal and the paternal side. Went to Richmond Public
Mm,
Schools, matriculated to Virginia Commonwealth University right there in Richmond. And then following graduation, about a year after I graduated, I moved into my federal government career, where I stayed for 34 years and retired 7 years ago. That's why I smile so much. And this season of my life, I stood up my own company, the Johnson Leadership Group, where my team and I pour into aspiring and seasoned leaders across
mm,
the entire marketplace. You know, churches, nonprofits, academic institutions, corporations, and government agencies. Now, in parallel with that journey, I also received a call from the Lord to go into ministry and to
mhm.
proclaim his word, proclaim the good news. So I have been ordained into the Christian ministry twice as a deacon, serving the local
Wow.
church, and as a minister, ultimately becoming an associate pastor and a senior pastor over these past 25 years. But what's interesting about the journey is that I've learned so much about leadership, and that's the space that I'm in. Do a lot of training, a lot of coaching, mentoring, teaching, facilitating, and that leads us to where we are now, having a conversation about the writing process, publishing, and being an author. I love to write. I've written a number of books since 2021. Actually, I made a mistake since 2001, on the topics of
Okay.
faith, book marketing, blended families, finance, um, strengthening men, and of course, leadership. So it's been a wonderful journey. I thoroughly enjoy it. You know, you do what you love to do, and you find time.
Absolutely.
So that's a little bit about who I am and where I am right now.
Wow, that's quite a journey, and you've done a lot. I mean, from federal government to the deputy to the leadership, mentoring leaders, and then also being a deputy pastor. So you do have a lot going on. How do you find the time for all of this?
Well, again, that's kind of why I prefaced it the way that I
Mhm.
did. We always find time to do the things that we love.
This is true.
And I'm a firm believer, Rhonda, I'm a firm believer that all of us are born into the world to serve others. We all have gifts that come very naturally to us. And if we use those gifts to serve others, although it is work, it doesn't feel like work. And you always find time to do
Yes.
the things that you love. I enjoy leisure just as much as I enjoy work. I enjoy going to the pool because I'm a swimmer. I enjoy going out to the park because I'm a walker. I exercise, I stretch. I find time to do all of that. I love to write books. I love to teach, and I love to proclaim the gospel. And I find time to do it all because I love it.
Amen. Amen. Now, I'm really interested in the whole leadership aspect because you've really taken that and you've embraced it. So you started your company where you mentor leaders, but no, you also have a series of books that
Mhm.
discuss leadership with a servant's heart. In fact, that's the series, Leadership with a Servant's Heart. What does that actually mean?
So, what we do is we pour into, we equip, and we develop both aspiring leaders as well as those that are currently in their leadership positions, frontline, mid level, and senior level. And we're trying to get our leaders, those that have been entrusted to lead other people, we're trying to really get them to embrace and align with the fact that it's more than just what we know. We're,
Yes.
we're, we're expected to show up and have the acumen and the intelligence and the subject matter expertise as it relates to what we do every day. That's expected, and we get credibility for that. So we give leaders a hand clap. But what people are really looking for in their leader is whether or not they're going to get the resources and the information and the development and the training and the opportunity to cultivate their skills so they'll be ready for the next level or the next opportunity of responsibility. Translation: the pink elephant in the room is always whether or not this leader gives a care that I showed up today. Will they listen to
Yes.
me? Will they support me? Will they be an advocate? Will they share information? Will they embrace my ideas and my thoughts and my perspectives or not? That's what people are really thinking. They don't say it. That's why I called it the pink elephant in the room. So, leadership with a servant's heart then helps all of us who are entrusted to lead others to make sure that we align what's in our mind with what's in our heart. Because it's from the heart that we display empathy and compassion and respect and value and care. And then from the mind, again, comes the acumen, the intelligence, and the subject matter expertise. When those two align, you're going to tap into people who are going to want to follow you, not feel like
Mhm.
they have to follow you. And they will be high performers
Right.
and they will be high producers. They just will, because that's what people are looking for in their leaders. So when I study Barna, when I study Forbes, and when I study Gallup, I'm always into the data and statistics that they pour out consistently, year after year after year after year. All of the data shows that there remains a very wide gap between what people are looking for in their leader and what leaders are actually delivering. And so my company and my team, we show up so that we can uh, get that wide gap to be much narrower and helping leaders to understand what their real role is as a leader. So that was a long-winded answer, but there it is. I wrapped it all up right there.
No, well, no, I'm glad you did wrap it up that way because, being a leader myself, I served 23 years in the Army, and
Hmm.
I've seen great leaders, I've seen not so great leaders, and I've learned something from all of them. Sometimes I learned how I wanted to lead, and I've learned how I didn't want to lead. But even the people who I maybe exhibited the traits that I didn't want to emulate, they had great knowledge, and I still learned from them. So I liked what you said. It's not always what you know or how much you know, and I think that sometimes with leadership, some leaders don't want to admit that they don't know something because they think it makes them less of a leader, or
Hmm.
they don't want to ask for help, especially from someone who might be lower ranking than they are because it may make them look like they're showing weakness. Have you ever heard any leaders who you've mentored say things like that?
Oh, all the time. They'll just come right out with it. Listen, you're lucky to have a job. You're lucky to be here. Do what I
Yeah,
say. If you don't get X, Y, and Z to me, I'm going to write you up. And they're using coercion as a motivator. But let's be honest. We have 5 generations of people in the workplace right now at the same time, and those old school tactics don't work across the board. So we have to be
right,
flexible, we have to be adaptable, we have to be resilient, we have to pay attention to the audience. I've been the recipient of it, but I've also been guilty of it. And so that's where the learning takes place. You learn over time what doesn't work, or when you start to feel some of the pain, it reminds you of what you used to do to others and how they felt, but we just weren't aware. And now that I'm aware, we don't use that technique or that strategy anymore. So yeah, absolutely. I've seen it up close and personal. In some cases, I've had to step in and advocate for the person that's receiving the brunt of that type of leadership, and just kind of remind the leader that, hey, this is not the most appropriate way to lead, and here are the reasons why, helping them to
right.
understand the why so that they'll have a motivation now to change their behavior.